this is our last poll. And if you can think about what is the most common challenge that you're facing in launching a new program. Is it courseware, instructors, the bandwidth of your program staff, the bandwidth of your marketing staff, and whether things are financially viable or not? If you have a lot of indirect expenses that you have to cover, like assessments, rents, staff, so your programs need to be extremely profitable, that's going to be something that you have to take into consideration. Interesting. The top answer for this was that it's not financially viable, the challenge of a program not being financially viable. And then we've got a three-way tie for instructors and bandwidth, followed lastly by courseware. So, and I think that financial viability is also challenging in these economic times, given the fact that we know people want to fine-tune, retool their capabilities as they're looking for new jobs or trying to hold on to the current jobs. The flip side of that is that's being balanced against how long can I stay, how much money can I invest if I'm unemployed, or if I am employed, do I want to put money into training given the fact that I don't know if I will have a job. So let's talk now about prioritizing a program launch. If you take a look at this graph, you can see the areas you need to examine. And what you want to do is treat this like a progression towards the launch of a program. Each of these steps in this process can be a deal breaker. You can see in this graph we've already completed the first two steps, and we're assuming that we've identified opportunities and corresponding audiences. So let's jump in at the third requirement. And I think, obviously, after just going through this poll, this is fairly standard for most shops in continuing education, and that is, will the program be financially viable? Now, everyone's financial analysis is going to be a little different depending on what you have to cover in terms of your indirect expenses. Some shops have to take into account salaries, others rent, still others a university assessment or a percentage they must pay back. So now's the time, before you spend too much energy, when you want to look at some preliminary calculations based on what you believe you can earn from the program and what expenses, both direct and indirect, that you need to cover. And again, you may not have all of the exact costs, but you can get, at this point, a ballpark. And this is going to help you determine, do I continue down this process? So you want to also look at, are there low-cost providers who are going to drive your tuition down too far? Is there an established curriculum with corresponding courseware? And if not, how much is it going to be to buy or to develop that courseware? If courseware does exist, is it going to be extremely expensive? And of course, you also need to think about, what will people pay? For example, you probably can't charge $6,000 for a certificate program to become a certified nursing assistant if in your community that job pays mid to $20,000 range. So assuming that you've got some financial viability, you need to next take a look at your program staff and your resources. It may seem like right now you're working twice as hard to get the same amount of people enrolled in your program. And you also may have had to decrease your staff. So you want to look at, does your staff have the bandwidth to investigate, develop, and market a new program? What are the opportunity costs of doing something like this? And would the return on the investment of your time be higher if you spent time on improving or enhancing an existing program? Finally, where will you be housing the program? Will it be in a classroom? Do you have classrooms available? Is this online? If it's online, what kind of tech support do you need? Keep in mind, again, I feel like this is a little bit of a mantra, a program is only fantastic and can only generate money over the long term if your team can support it so that people have a positive experience and want to send other people here. Think that a program is financially viable and you have the resources to support it, your last step is identifying the curriculum and corresponding courseware. So now's the time to ask yourself if you're going to buy that courseware off the shelf, if you're going to develop it in-house, or are you going to partner with a vendor? And each of those decisions will impact how the program aligns with your brand and how it also impacts your bottom line. So depending on the decision, you may need to revisit your financials to see if you can make a final go, no-go decision. And by that, I mean you may have assumed that you could find something off the shelf and you later discover, no, nothing exists. Or you may have assumed that a partnership would be a flat fee for each class, and the partner says, no, we need a percentage. Again, that's going to impact your financials. So taking into account the curriculum, once you have a good idea for where you want to go with the curriculum, you're going to have to turn around and revisit your financials. Regardless, each of these steps as you go are going to help you prioritize which of the program options can be least painful to launch and which program options have the biggest payout at the end. So I'm going to stop here because we've now gone through this process. Like I said earlier, it's cyclical. So you're going to identify where you want to go, where you are now, research options, and create a program launch plan. And then you're going to revisit this again. Hopefully you're doing this frequently enough that you're not revisioning, but you are looking at, okay, we've made some changes, we've made some improvements. Where are we now? And I see that we do have a question. How do we get faculty on board? That's a challenge, and I will admit I don't have as much experience getting faculty on board. I was talking just the other day with a representative of Emory College about getting faculty on board, and that being a challenge. I think that the simplest way to start is start early and see how you can incentivize them, what brings them to the table. We have in the past used faculty, if not as instructors, as part of an advisory committee. So they're starting really early on in the process of, here's what I think makes for a strong curriculum. Here's what I think you can bring to the table. That also adds to your brand if you're saying either we have faculty who are teaching these programs or we have faculty who helped to create the programs. Again, I think earlier is always better because if faculty creates a wall for you, you want to know that before you spend too much time. Are there other questions that people have? And Betty, I hope that answered your question. Are there other questions that people have? What I'm going to do is take people, I'm about to take everyone off mute, so also if people have, if people want to add to the question of getting faculty on board, they can. So I've taken people off mute. If you want to remute yourself, that's fine. Does anybody want to add to that? Okay. Are there other questions? Okay, great. Well, I will share with you that the process that I've just taken you through is one that JMH works with continuing education departments to execute. The result is a document that includes the secondary research, the SWOT analysis, and recommendations for program launches based on what we've discussed here, as well as further analysis and consultation. If you have more questions about this process or about this as a consulting project, again, feel free to email me. And whether that's questions about this or other things, please feel free to email me. And hopefully you know where our website is, and I'll say it to you now. It's www.jmhconsulting.com. And Jana, I'll let you take over.
Okay, thanks so much, Nicole. I hope that you guys enjoyed the webinar today, and like I said earlier, we do plan on having another webinar series in the future, so please check back on our website, like Nicole said, jmhconsulting.com, for future webinars that we are planning. Enjoy the rest of your week, and thanks so much for attending.